Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Guys Night podcast, where we are live in studio today, and we are joined by two fitness gurus here in the Northeast Ohio area. I would like to welcome first. We're going to go with you, Leland. Tell us a little about yourself, sir.
I'm 30 years old. Majority of my life I was morbidly obese. About 4 years ago, drove down to the fitness journey and lost all my weight, gained a lot of muscle, got into running, so really into marathons now. So that's like the majority of my life right now is just running.
That's insane. So wait, this journey started 4 years ago from morbidly obese?
Yep, about 4.5 now. So
that's incredible. I look forward to definitely digging into that. I thought it was like a 10-year, 12-year journey or something like that based off of what I had seen.
Yeah.
And then also making a second trip. Dejan, welcome back to the show, sir.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, I'm here just mainly through bodybuilding aspects and did a lot of different ventures in life, but more so just hypertrophy and training science. Hiring coaches throughout the Northeast Ohio area, gathering information for my journey of losing obesity, and now becoming still considered tier 1 obesity, but at least a strong one.
All right, give me 1 second. Let me get the camera so I can on wide. All right. Awesome. All right. Well, let's start this off, guys. And let's start it off with kind of where you are, Leland, just because I haven't got a chance to really know you. We've talked just a few minutes here before the show. And then make sure when we're chatting that you got that microphone a little close to you. Otherwise, that voice will carry and they won't be able to hear you. Anybody that's listening live, please don't hesitate to share the show, but also comment with questions. You guys are here to answer them regardless of how difficult they may be. And hopefully we can get you the correct answers. And if we can't, we'll at least steer you in the right direction. But so 4 years ago, morbidly obese. Now, when you say that, are you saying based off of the scales that say because you're 5'11", if you weigh over 230 pounds, you're obese, or is it going more so off of, just overall body fat and everything? Where you were at?
I was probably like 55, maybe 60% body fat, 340. I'm like 6'2", so I held it pretty well, but I was up there. I was also a drug addict at that time, so majority of my life I've been a drug addict. I started doing drugs at like the age of 10, so I carried through. I think I was the only morbidly obese drug addict that existed in the world.
Well, let's. So what was the part that kind of began the journey? Like, what finally told you like this is enough? I'm going to do something. Was it because it was New Year's Eve and you said tomorrow I'm going to wake up and be a better person, or did something else help in your life that kind of made that change for you?
I feel like it's a mix of things. I would work and you do one thing, go up 5 flights of stairs, like 5 flights of stairs, you're just out of breath, you're just sweating already. And then I wanted kids, so I was going to the future where I raised a kid that was healthy as well and didn't kind of grow up the way I did.
Right.
So my wife kind of helped me down that road. Plus I had a grandpa that passed away from a heart attack. And then a few months later, I had an uncle that died from a heart attack as well. And it started with a $50 bet from some guy at work. I told him I was going to lose 100 pounds in a month.
Obviously, at least $100.
Man, 100 pounds. I feel like that's like $1,000 bet.
Yeah.
So how did that first month go?
I lost 30 pounds.
But all right, hey, 30 pounds though. I mean, that kind of just gives you that I can do it spirit at that point.
Did you pay him $50?
He did not make me, but I did pay him.
Yeah, yes. Good man. All right, so what started off? What was the plan getting to
my plan was just to be skinny and look good.
Yeah,
trying to get healthy.
But was it like, hey, was it immediate diet? Was it immediate gym? I know now you do some running. Starvation. So you went, okay. Like all day long, like just minimal food or?
Yeah. Like when I first started, I would probably not eat all day. And then I'd go home and eat those like cheese square crackers. The only thing I'd eat all day. And then maybe after a couple months of that, I started going to the gym to lift weights. I didn't do cardio at all when I first started.
Wow.
So it's just YouTube and look at this guy, look at that guy, trying to like, what are calories? I didn't know any of that stuff when I first started. So,
yeah, I don't think a lot of people really know what is what. It's like we had a conversation on the last podcast that you were on, Dejan, where you were like, as long as you're calorie deficiting yourself, you're going to lose some weight and make some difference. And obviously, for those that don't know what they're doing at all, that's a good place to start at least. But when you hear somebody making this journey, what would have been an easier way for him to maybe start that could have done a little bit easier for
Well, I mean, I'd say if he started 4 years ago, we definitely had a lot of internet access.
him?
We don't have as accessible as ChatGPT that you can write a plan for you now, but I mean, we have a lot of stuff that at least you can kind of just cookie cutter plan off of a person you know is healthy and fit and do your best following a disciplinary guideline. That'd be like an easy cookie cutter. Like I'll start there because then you have at least structure.
Sure. Well, I'd say just from the conversation we had a couple of weeks ago, chicken and rice diet was like, "Ugh, I'll never be able to do that." And because I like food way too much. My thing was I always told myself, I'm going to go to the gym and work out hard every single day. That way I can eat whatever I want. And as long as my chest overlaps my gut, that was my rule of thumb, right? If it ever got too much the other way around, like then I better start doing something different. But I was always like, I could not just eat the same meal over and over again. So I challenged myself to it after our last podcast. Like, let me see if I can do this for a week. And by day like 4, I was like, and this is so much easier. Like, I don't have to think about what I'm going to eat. It takes me like 2 minutes to prepare my meal. My wife hates it because she's like, I am not eating chicken and rice. Like, what do you expect me to do for dinner? I'm like, I don't know, figure it out. But it was cheap. Like, go to Costco, buy almost 4 or 5 days worth of chicken and rice for $50. And that was me buying the rice that was already the organic rice package. So I didn't have to worry about cooking it and stuff like that to get started. But I mean, you're talking $3, $4 a meal.
Right.
It's crazy to think how unhealthy like a lot of the kids are in this world because they can't just make a simple meal like that for them at lunch.
Yeah. I mean, and it's just simple math when it comes to certain things. Like same as Leland, when I started losing weight, it was because a guy in wrestling told me you need to eat nothing but tuna. So as a 15-year-old kid joining the wrestling team, I ate 6 cans of tuna and that's it. Which accumulated to maybe 800 calories. I
Yeah.
did that and lost like 60, 70 pounds in 4 months.
Wow. That's intense.
It's a good chunk of weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't even eat or look at tuna to this day, 15 plus years later.
I tried that. We had this guy, he was a bodybuilder when I worked in like high school at a landscaping company. This dude would bring like a container, like a gallon container of pre-made tuna like every day. And I'm just like, dude, I love tuna, but man, no, not every day.
No.
Like, and that was just, I just seen it for the summer. For you to do it as long as you did, like, man, start sweating that stuff out.
Pure hatred, especially doing the conditioning wrestling. Like we don't know any better. We just
You're just getting started.
we're fat. We don't want to be fat. We eat, we get fat. Don't eat.
Yeah, right. And it's hard today because a lot of the foods that are out there, they taste good and they're made to be addictive. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real problem. And not to get too much off topic and I get away from the fitness aspect of it, but when I just watched the thing today that somebody had sent me, and they talk about like the cigarette companies bought all these food companies essentially and basically ran the same model. Like, hey, this works as long as we can get them addicted. They'll just eat more and eat more and eat more, and then you have companies like, or then you have like big pharma and everything's like, well, that's fine. If they get sick, then they'll come to us and then we'll put them on a lifetime of medicine. And it became based off of like each individual person's lifetime value is what they call it. Where basically if they can keep you eating a bunch of food, keep you unhealthy, keep you in the medical system, keep you on medicine, like it's like a repeat, rinse, recycle system that just keeps going for the rest of someone's life. And it's turned out to where, there's guys like you that are having to battle back from 400 pounds. And that's not easy. Like I look at folks every day that I see on the side of the road that are, or side, grocery store or whatever, and that are 300, 350. And I'm like, man, that first day in the gym is going to feel so hopeless.
Yeah. And you feel so ashamed and like judged almost when you show up, like you don't belong there.
Yeah. Well, and the work ahead of you on top of that, right? Like, because now that you're in the gym and you're in there all the time, you know that if you saw somebody in there, that wouldn't be how you would feel towards them.
Yeah.
Right. You see how that community is in these gyms. People want to help other people. But from day one, you're starving yourself and you come home and you wake up the next day and you're like, a month later, I lost 30 pounds. But I mean, at that point, 30 pounds, did you really notice the 30 pounds? I mean, I'm sure there's some aspects you probably felt it, but
You definitely, I feel like you notice it.
yeah,
You're still obviously, you don't feel like it's enough. Life's still hard even after the 30. Like there's a long journey to go.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. What about you?
I mean, someone sees you if you lost 30 pounds and you're 400 pounds and they don't know you, that guy's 370 pounds. They
Right.
370,
Yeah.
supposed to be a big guy. When I lost the 60 pounds, it was a pretty dramatic. I was 310, so I was 250 then.
That's a pretty big swing.
So
60.
I definitely felt that, especially in the conditioning and wrestling, running less.
Yeah.
Then I, kept going and eventually dieted down to 189 by the next year of
Wow.
wrestling. That's probably the lightest I've ever been in my life, was 189. And the closest I've become was 2 years ago, my bodybuilding show was 201. And I was going to have a heart attack if I broke the scale, which I didn't. It was 201. So I was like, all right. But so yeah, being under 200 pounds, I couldn't even imagine. Right now I'm about 245.
Damn.
That's wild. I was, our weight was the same. I got down to 189 was the lowest.
Yeah.
The last time I was under 200 pounds until I initially lost that weight, I was in 3rd grade.
Wow.
Yeah. So like when I hit that 200 milestone, I was like, wow.
That's
Well,
insane.
I was young when I was.
Yeah. So let's talk about what that's been able to do for both of you guys now, right? For you, you're just the last 4 years. What's the difference in your life now versus 4 years ago?
I mean, it pretty much my entire life's around fitness and just health.
Yeah.
I'm like a super nerd for human biology, so I spend all my day just researching. Like I'll listen to like college lectures. I go deep into it, so I found it fascinating, and I just built a passion for it. So my days, I go to work, I come home, make my meals for the next day, hang out with my family, and then I go to bed and repeat. Besides the gym,
Right.
when I can. So yeah,
I watch those stories and I hate them because the food looks so good. I don't have time to cook it.
that's another thing. So after I started myself the first year, and Greg Doucette, I found him online. So this dude was eating like French toast, and I'm just like, I want to be a fat kid eating French toast and lose weight. So I dove into his cook. I feel like that helped me a lot, being that heavy, because you still get to enjoy like good tasting food.
Yeah.
But it's like lower calories. So he was screaming at you, just eat protein essentially back then, but it did help. So,
Yeah. So now you guys are prepping food. You guys aren't just eating chicken and rice all the time. Well, I think you are, or maybe ground beef. Mixed it up. I saw you today at the gym.
Yeah, double ground beef. Well, I told Brian, I'm like, Brian, I had chicken for 7 weeks. Can you make me a double ground beef?
So what is so obviously you're Chef Boyardee apparently when it comes to the gym macros. What kind of meals are you cooking yourself and that are maybe not too difficult, but that taste, got some, what kind of stuff do you throw together?
Usually I cook all my meat in one day. Plain chicken, fish, whatever it is. If I'm eating beef, I eat a lot of salmon, a lot of cod.
Yeah.
I mainly do white meats. I'm not a big on red meat, so my LDL naturally is just always high. So health-wise, I like to watch that.
Sure.
Especially with my uncle, hard disease in my family.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then just every day I prep my vegetables, air fryer, easy 10 minutes, and then just throw those in there, throw some seasonings in, and then that'll be like my 4 days of work because it's so easy to prep. And when I'm off work, that's when I get like really creative. I'll make like French toast or like different like oatmeal bakes, a lot of fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get creative with like different like French toast and like cheesy, like savory type stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, so I got like different recipes. I got like one's a Texas toast, French toast, but it's just like essentially Texas toast. Yeah.
It's funny because like you just assume that you can't taste good food again, but there's so much research out there now and there's so much like information that's available to people where it's like, no, you don't have to eat shit food every day. Like you don't have to eat like a bodybuilder. You can just lower your calories by doing a lot of other simple things. Now, Dan, I know you're training people. Do you have clients that come to you where, they're in situations maybe similar to the ones that you guys come from, that kind of background, or are you special and more so in bodybuilding and things like that?
I definitely probably specialize more in just like lifestyle contest prep building. So I'm not making a superstar. we're going to go IFBB Pro.
Yeah.
It's more on Mike's side. He's way more talented than that. I work with him, so he like really grabs the wheel for that. But I like to have some people who have similar journeys from me, who, you know, at one point was battling being on the bottom, no self-esteem, and help you realize your worth and bring you up and teach you optimally just how to be a better human being overall everywhere. But I try not to stress people so much where you have to eat X, Y, Z, and this is the only way to get to your goal. I mean, if you want to suffer and you're okay with it and you set that standard for me, we're going to get there faster doing that.
Right.
But if you want to learn how to be a little bit more accessible, hit calories and all that, if you're willing to do the work around to make sure you're getting all your goals, that's more than possible for almost anybody. So I try to always offer easy solution meals that people can do. Like I eat some of these protein ramen noodle that's from Amazon. And it's ramen noodles, but it's a little healthier, less processed, and it's 20 grams of protein.
Wow.
So there's so many great options nowadays. Like you said, there's so many foods. Me and Leland really partake in. He got me to turn on to these muffins. They're 30 grams of protein, only about 300-ish calories, and like 40 grams of carbs and 10 grams of fat. And if you know your calories, that's really not that much to have this muffin that tastes like an actual muffin.
Well, I was gonna say, because that's the big thing when you see like foods, even protein bars that are actually good for you. You know, they taste like shit. Usually, they're chalky or whatever, or they're bland. But these muffins that you guys are talking about, pretty good, huh?
I'm addicted. I think I've eaten 120 this month.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I keep all my receipts. It's got tax write-off stuff. Don't come after me, IRS. But I'm towards 1,000 muffins for the year. Myself.
That's insane. How big are these muffins too?
I mean, I'd probably say about that water bottle.
Really?
They're a good size. They're all like 300. I think the highest one's like 450.
That's like the only one. The rest of them are all like
Didn't like
354.
I mean, still, that's a ton. I mean, there's a lot of good out of that, right? And if it tastes good, that's
and it takes
awesome.
away your sugar craving. You know, you're smart about it. I mean, a lot of times there's so many great ways. You can literally make a protein pudding with sugar-free pudding, protein powder, some Fairlife milk, and bam, you have this giant great dessert. Throw some extra toppings. You throw one Reese's in there, make it a little unhealthy, and then bam. Another great coach that we mentioned, Greg Doucette, he talks about the rule of the 7 rule. You know, if a food tastes like a 4, make it a little more unhealthy, make it a 7, and then you'll enjoy it. If a food is as healthy as a 10 but tastes terrible, or it tastes really good but it's not good for you, make it a little healthy, not taste as good, keep it in a realm of 7. You don't have to enjoy it at a 10. You don't have to hate it at 4. Make it a 7.
Makes sense.
Neutral ground.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ways you can mix some of this stuff up. Like for chicken and rice, for me, like I was like, I'll throw egg in there. I'll cook some egg up real quick, throw it in there, sriracha or things like that. They give it a little bit more flavor, some seasoning and things like that. So
yeah, I gotta keep it to where Brian's comfortable with it.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. Unfortunately, or actually, I should say, fortunately, I don't have to worry about that.
Yes.
I'm not going to be doing any shows anytime soon.
Never say never.
Yeah.
Never say never. I don't know, after your arm day today.
Yeah, I'm going to be feeling that tomorrow. So I know you've competed, Dejan, but have you ever competed?
I did a transformation show, and then I was already in shape, so I did one show. I actually did it with Mike and Dejan. So
Okay.
It was just like I just showed up.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I didn't prep for it at all. It was just like hey, there's a show next week. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. So I just showed up, and I had no idea how to pose. So dead last for sure. But
oh well, hey, at least you got to enjoy the experience, right?
And then this last show, he did pose very well. Actually, we practiced some good stuff.
Yeah.
If you see his pictures that he posted from the transformation show, you definitely had some of the best posing of all those guys up there.
Yeah, some good posing. This guy.
Yeah.
Alive with that.
So real quick, the muffin brand. What is the name of the brand?
It's called Buffin Muffins.
Buffin Muffins.
Yeah, shout out to them.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are they? Is that is it like buffinmuffin.com?
It's a company called Hummus Fit.
Okay.
That's their like a meal prep company, and then their sister brand is Hummus Fit. I think her name's Leanna, and she created the muffins, and then she kind of like joined their meal prep company. So it's like a affiliate, I guess. They're all one brand.
Well, I was gonna say, are you an affiliate of theirs, or are you a sponsor of theirs?
Yeah,
Oh, not yet.
I was at one point, but it lasted like 2 days.
Oh, how did that happen?
I don't know if I want to talk about it right now.
Fair enough. Well, hey, shout out to them, and you need to get this guy back on board because he's eating 1,000 freaking muffins a month
I think
or a year. I mean,
I think I've gotten everyone like this Cleveland area on these things. Just from like me telling them and then them telling other people.
The best thing we can do now is we sell them ourselves. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to take Leland's chef skills to the next level because he makes some muffins.
I have replicated their blueberry muffin once, and then I gave up because I spent like an entire like month and a half doing it, and I tore my foot. So at the time, when I went back to work, there's so many problems with baking and temperature and mixing it the correct way.
I
I
barely
just
can
gave
bake,
up.
so we're not gonna try.
Yeah, right.
Uh,
All right, no question, Jeff. But for those that are listening, there's a couple people out there. Feel free to drop questions regarding anything that you can and want to discuss. So, what do you guys want to start off with after knowing your journey a little bit? I guess someone hits the gym. What are some things? Because I'll give you an example. I always heard, oh, more reps, lighter weight, that tones you down. Lesser reps, God, lesser reps, bigger weights. Will build bulk, but there's a lot of stuff in between all of that, right?
Yeah, and even that's not 100% true.
Right.
I think a good place to start is we'll start with Leland and me. What worked for us that we have found that we're optimally doing now.
Sure.
So Leland, if you want to start us off.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go.
I think there's a big difference what your goal is to start off with. Like, are you just trying to get stronger? Are you trying to build muscle? I would put them in like each their own category, but they definitely cross. So like if you're aiming for more strength, you're going to gain muscle, but it's going to be less muscle gain, more strength gain, or vice versa. Hypertrophy, you're going to gain more muscle. Strength will still come with that, just less in comparison, but they definitely do cross in their categories.
Sure.
Yeah.
So would you suggest like when somebody starts their fitness journey, maybe actually like checking off some boxes, like what they want before they even start like their plan with somebody or they start training with somebody? That way they can kind of figure out a plan around what they're hoping to accomplish. Like if it's just losing weight, this is what we're going to focus on. If it's toning up, this is it, et cetera, et cetera.
When it comes to making a full plan, it's going to be very tailored to the person, time availability, how many times can they go to the gym. Like I had you come to the gym twice today.
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger did, but a lot of people can't make it to the gym twice.
Right.
And then some people, if they have the time to optimize strength and they can work out for 2.5 hours and rest 8 to 10 minutes a set, then that can be an option. If you're trying to lose weight and you can't have that option or time, then bodybuilding and hypertrophy might be a little bit better because you can burn out and do a little bit more of a higher rep set things. Or if you're just want to lose purely weight, then maybe a style of CrossFit without as much joint issues is not a terrible option. More circuit training style things where you're moving a lot and just burning more. You're keeping your heart rate in zone 2 to 3 and up. That's once it comes to that zone talking, that's where we're optimizing if we're burning fat or not, because depending on where your heart is working, now you are optimizing whether or not you're going to be burning fat, building muscle as much, and where you're going to be going with that. Because if you're a powerlifter and you do one deadlift, your heart rate will spike up for a second, but it's going to go back down. You don't really necessarily want to have a pump in your muscles or stuff like that because you don't want it to fatigue you to take away from the strength you're going to have in the next set. And that's why they rest really long between periods, where in bodybuilding, it's the vice versa. If we're trying to reach hypertrophy, we're trying to keep that strain and tension of that muscle. We don't rest often, but we don't want our heart rate so high that it's fatigued that we can't optimally complete every rep and set. And then the same goes often if you're trying to lose weight and you're just trying to not really care about how much weight or you're moving and you're trying to keep that heart rate up as high as you can, moving these reps and sets and circuits. Now you're optimizing losing weight at the highest degree that you can because your fat burning zone is high up there and your heart is really working.
I think that's important too, because a lot of people just want to lose weight and just lose it. But if you're not lifting weights at all, the studies show half the weight you're going to lose is muscle mass. And you can get that down to under 10% if you're actually moving your muscles and going to the gym and working out. So,
well, that brings up another question I have, and I don't want to get too far off topic, but when you talk about losing the amount of weight that you guys both did, extra skin, right? Was that not an issue for you based on the way that you did it? Like, it's like a thing that a lot of people experience is like you lose that amount of weight pretty fast. And like, if you don't fill it with muscle, or even if you do, like, it's hard to regain that amount. Have you seen people with that issue? Did you guys have to fight through that? Or is there anything that you guys recommend to help maybe not have it be as significant? Or does that usually happen more so when somebody does like the stomach staple where they lose a lot really, really fast type thing?
I think it's gonna be different for everybody depending on how much weight you had, and then how much you lose. I think the faster you lose it, it will be a little. You'll
Sorry.
get more loose skin, and then how much muscle mass you add too.
Yeah.
I feel like I did get pretty lucky with my loose skin. It's still there, but it's not as noticeable. It's definitely thicker for me.
Yeah.
It's like so much saggy, but
Yeah.
I tend to hold a lot of water in my skin. I don't know why. But like even my biceps, it's like there's a lot there,
Oh wow. Yeah.
but like you don't really notice it if I'm just sitting.
No, but you can see the stretch. That's
So
crazy.
it's like inner thigh, stomach, all that's the same way as my biceps are. It's
Right on.
very stretchy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the first factor you want to consider is genetics,
Mhm.
how much collagen your body produces, et cetera. So people are going to be different. I mean, the same woman, two girls can get pregnant and they can both gain 50 pounds and have the baby, and one's going to have all this extra skin. One looks like they never were pregnant at all. And that's the same issue with the same expansion and whatnot, but it's just that collagen that your body holds on to. So with age, collagen does reduce. So optimizing your collagen is step one if you're trying to lose weight rapidly to avoid that. Second factor for me and Leland is we are taller individuals, so that is spread out that weight a little bit better. So that was a luck thing for us as well.
Sure.
And I guess on another thing, at least for me, after I lost weight from 310 pounds down to 189, I bulked back up to 308. So I expanded that skin back up a bit and then lost it gradually fitly. So then I didn't have as much loose skin. Although when I was 189, I definitely had loose skin. So filling up my skin and then bringing those markers back down with optimal collagen for me helped me to the point where now I have no loose skin.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, you guys had some distinct things that you want to discuss. We've talked a little bit about your journey. We talked a little bit about the kind of training that you guys do, but what specifically do you guys want to bring up? I mean, I know that you're still taking clients. Are you full right now, Dejan, or you have?
I have some availability online and in person, much less in person though, but some online.
Yeah.
And that's just depending on what time they're coming. But yes.
Gotcha. And are you doing any trading or anything like that, or working anything on the side? Are you doing diet coaching or?
I do diet coaching for people. I do charge a lot, and I'm a very busy person as is with my job currently. So I don't have that many clients, but when I do, if they do want me to, I will make them a specific diet tailored to them with all those fancy meals that I like to enjoy too. So
Really? So do you actually prep the meals, or do you just
no, I'll
give them the ingredients and say, hey, this is what you do?
I'll give them ingredients, recipe, eat this, eat that. If you don't want this, have this instead. Different weights for everything. So if you don't want, strawberries, there's different weights for the raspberries, everything. So
And he can include the muffin.
Yes, the
muffins
muffin.
will be in the plan.
So it's interesting, actually. The reason I ask is, and I don't even know if you guys have ever come across this person or anybody, but I had a
The muffin man.
no, a guy that worked. He owned or ran Elyria Hyundai back in the day. He was extremely overweight, lost all this weight, but he had a girl that actually prepped him like all his meals for the entire week. She cooked them out of her like own house, and then I think she finally got a kitchen, but like it was like $400 a week or whatever. But all your meals were taken care of for the whole week, like 6 meals a day, like, and they were all different and stuff like that. So I don't know if you guys have come across anybody that does that stuff, but I feel like there's such a huge opportunity for it.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a
know.
close friend that's willing to do it,
Yeah.
like Brian,
Yeah.
there's options out there, and there's meal prep companies that are like Hummus Fit, but that's online. They ship it to your house. There's some locally. I know there's Refined Meals in Cleveland. They're a little bit pricey. On the cheaper side, and locally, there's Clean Eats. Their meals are like $6 each.
Really?
Super cheap. Someone my size would probably need to eat 2 meals at a time.
Yeah.
And you'd have to be kind of picky on which macros really work out on the person. But if you're tracking your calories and you know what you're doing, you can easily get away with having those options with some sides, things you do yourself. But there's no excuse in this day and age for sure.
Yeah, I would definitely say that with technology and things like that, there's just, you can find all the information anywhere, and there's definitely companies out there that are trying to take advantage of it. I think it's just a matter of most people just don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, even Clean Eats down the street, if you buy 20 meals, it's $140.
Yeah, that's nothing.
You're going to spend more at McDonald's eating with the family.
Way more. Way more.
Well, like you said, you can just Google personal chefs. They'll come to your house and just cook all your food for you.
Yeah, one of my clients, Dylan, he hired a personal chef that I sent him a meal plan and she cooks it. That wasn't cheap.
No, of course not.
But she literally cooks the food personally to exactly the macros to taste well and everything that you need. So
yeah,
that's incredible. Well, there's always an option out there. Science into this. You've mentioned it before, Dejan. There's a science to working out and getting the most. You used the word quite a few times that I am terrible at pronouncing and saying.
Hypertrophy.
Yes. I don't know why I cannot just let it roll off my tongue, but
I mean, if you want to say it easy, it's hypertrophy.
yeah. Tell us a little bit about what that entails, how to achieve that when you're working out, and what the benefits of that are.
So essentially, hypertrophy is a way of putting maximum tension on a muscle and bringing it to exhaustion and past failure. So it's something that will easily be referred to as RIR. So that's reps in reserve. So when you're training, how many reps do you have in reserve left? So if you're doing 10 curls with 30-pound dumbbells, the weight you chose, by the time you're done, if you have 4 RIR, that means you have 4 reps left you probably could have achieved if you tried really hard. A lot of people that train to failure, they actually probably have 5 to 10 more reps left in them, and they just don't even realize it. And even like in some of the logics of, like, say, if you're doing a strict curl like Arnold, you're doing 12 reps and you cannot get that 13th one, and you force it up and then control it on the way down because you're stronger in an eccentric, and you get a couple more reps out of that way, you're really pushing out of that tank whatever's left over and maximizing a lot of different areas depending on the workout you're doing. Like today, you and I, we did a lot of big stretch movements where I put your biceps and triceps in a compromised position where you are so weak, the only thing that can work is that muscle we were targeting.
Right.
So you couldn't compensate with your shoulder, your chest, your back, nothing else. And at that point, you were able to feel failure because nothing could help except that one muscle's failure point. And that's how we reached that hypertrophy today.
And what's the biggest benefit of that other than just exhausting the muscle? Like, is there a difference in that versus me doing 4 sets of 10 that I can knock out? Maybe I can't get my 4 set at my 9 on my last set or whatever, but
so a lot of the studies that people do, they say when you're reaching that RIR, when you're in 6 to 3 in that area, you will build, let's just say, 10 units of muscle. It's not an actual unit, but we'll just say 10. By going from 3 to 2, you'll build 30. You've tripled your results just getting one more rep closer. And then from 2 to 1, you go to 50. So you've now doubled that. And then 1 to 0 is pretty close to that one range, but it just proving getting as close to almost within 2 reps of failure can triple your results is most of the science. So if you really think about it, if you're doing 4 sets of curls, 10 sets of curls, you've just done 70 units. Now, if you just did 2 sets of curls closer to failure, you just did more results than the 10 sets of curls, optimize the time you have in the gym and the exhaustion in your muscle. The biggest thing with hypertrophy is building size, not so much strength, kind of like Leland talked about earlier. Now you're optimizing, expanding the muscle, flooding with all the bloods, making your glycogen reserves bigger to push that endurance of that set. So now your biceps or chest, or whatever you're doing, is enlarging because it's holding more creatine, glycogen in those muscles to look and appear bigger. And by doing that, you are still building strength. You're not going to be optimal for 1 rep max,
right,
but you are building that strength result that you can get to hold and carry more endurance in your muscle.
Were you gonna say something?
I got a lot to say. I mean,
Let's throw it in there. Throw it in there.
Like you were saying with like the blood flow, that's where cardio would actually improve your muscle results, because the better your VO2 max and your endurance and cardio gets, you actually will build capillary ends to your muscle tissue, which that will allow more blood to be able to go into the muscle. And then as you're working out, lactate builds, and that's that burn you're feeling.
Sure.
You can use lactate as energy source, so you can clear the lactate faster with the more capillary ends you have. So you're pushing blood and it's coming in and out faster. So your ability to build more muscle will actually be increased
by doing the cardio that's on the side of it.
Yeah. So
not to mention your heart's a little healthier too, right?
Yes.
That's interesting because I've always heard that I've seen that most bodybuilders don't run, right? Cardio is like walking uphill 3 miles on a treadmill at 30% or whatever incline, but you actually run, correct?
Yes.
Often.
Very often.
7 miles yesterday, I think.
Yeah, I right now it's like not my peak season for running, so I'm right near 60, 70 miles a week.
It's cold.
Yeah. And then towards spring, I want to say like maybe towards the Cleveland Marathon. I'll
Yeah.
get towards like 100, and then I got a marathon. I think it's in June. It's in Minnesota.
Okay.
So
So have you done anything? Have you done a marathon before? Or is this your first one?
I've done marathons.
You've done it before.
Yeah.
Have you done anything else like ultra running or anything like that, or ever thought about things like that?
I mean, on my own, I guess, but it doesn't really interest me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My brother got into it and I thought he was insane for it. Like he did this one, it was like the Canadian death race where it was like 120 miles over 3 days and they're like camping out and like 30 degree, well, it's probably 20-degree weather or less. I don't even know. But and he did one in Arizona and it's like, man, I cannot imagine running 100 miles. Like nothing about that sounds fun at all. But I mean, I could do one or
It's
two.
a nice sightseeing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As you're taking every breath for what it is.
I think the biggest challenge Leland probably faces to the most runners is he's not a gravitationally friendly person on each step that he's taken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's can take a beating on your feet. So I go through shoes probably 3 times faster than everyone else.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
unfortunate for my pocket, but
How much do you weigh, Leland?
right now I was 206 today. So
Yeah, 200
Alright.
pounds of per step running.
Yeah.
It's a lot of mass to carry.
the last marathon I ran, I was 223.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hurting joints too, I'm assuming. I mean, knees.
To be honest, no, not
No.
for me at least. Besides my one plantar tear, but I walk a lot too, so it's probably just an overuse injury.
Sure.
And I slipped at work, so that's what actually
Tore it.
Yeah.
So does you're saying that the cardio is improving your chance for your muscles to accept more blood, essentially. Is that how I'm basically understanding that? Like more blood can actually flow through them and be used and you can have more glycogen come through there because of the fact that you have more capillary ends to your
Well, that's
is
just
that how I'm understanding that? I'm gonna make sure I correct myself.
more blood will flow into it as you're working out, but a lot of that has to do with after your workout too.
Okay.
It's like you got to pump, and with blood comes nutrients. So recovery aspect will definitely benefit you as well.
Faster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have more ability to shuttle more nutrients, glycogen as you're eating into the muscle, and same with your proteins.
Can we talk about glycogen just for a minute? Because it's a hot button as far as when everybody in here is talking about bodybuilding or anything, right? And I think we might have had the discussion of like, is it good to do cardio in the morning, or is it good to work out in the morning before you eat, after you eat? How do you prep before it? And then also how that affects you after your workout, right? Do you eat an hour after, 2 to 3 hours later? Talk to me a little bit about how glycogen actually works, how and what its function actually is in the muscle building side of things.
Let me take it.
Yeah, good.
So you're gonna need carbohydrates, and then those carbohydrates will turn into glycogen inside your muscles. So your muscles store glycogen in the form, essentially carbohydrates. So
Okay.
when you're working out, you're utilizing those carbohydrates inside that muscle that you are using. So like if you're doing curls, the glycogen in your biceps being used. Now, if you start to run low on those, your liver will shuttle more into your blood to use that as energy.
Okay.
But the lactate also will cycle through, and you'll use that as an energy source too.
Okay.
Hmm.
So if I'm getting up in the morning, how many carbs do I have to inhale in the morning in order to have them optimal for my workout? And then also, how long do I have, depending on what I'm eating? I'm assuming it depends on how fast they're going to actually fill those glycogen levels, or is my meal from the evening before going to play any part in that?
Your muscles from prior will already be full. So like if you're just sleeping, you're not going to use the glycogen inside your muscles. That's going to be where your liver supplying your brain and everything else for the energy. So like you can't use your quad glycogen just sitting here doing absolutely nothing for
Right.
energy.
And so that glycogen is there. That's not being reused to fill it at my arms or wherever else. Just the stuff that's coming from my liver, essentially, right?
Yeah. So if you woke up in the morning and you're mainly burning glucose, your liver storage might be empty. So it kind of just depends how you feel.
Yeah. Shorter workouts then probably in the morning, or not necessarily.
Everyone's different.
Yeah.
Like I can work out faster for 4 hours, but someone else might not be able to.
Sure. Well, it does the amount of calories that you're intaking over the course of the day impacting that at all? So more calories, or during the day, like you're overstocking your glycogen levels, is that negative? Because you mentioned carbs, right? Which when I think of bodybuilding, I think of carb depleting. or when I think of losing weight, I think of carb depleting. You're saying you need those carbs in order to give you the energy, which goes back to like high school football when you're eating spaghetti on Thursday night for the game on Friday, right? So there's like a lot of information going both ways out there. How does that affect someone who's trying to lose weight? Like, how do they need to focus on that or use that?
I mean, there's definitely a lot of different ways, but an easy way I like to try to plan for my clients that are trying to lose weight is, well, you still need carbs, so you need to cycle your carbs around the most important times of your day is usually how I do it. So for me, that's before a workout, after a workout, and then gradually even throughout the day. And I try not to eat too many carbs at once personally, just because it kind of bloats me and I like to digest things throughout the day. But I'll carb load before and after the workouts. So like in the morning, I can't have much carbs we talked about because I work out just pretty much fasted. So I just do about 20 grams of sugar, which is usually from honey. And sugar is just the fastest form of carbohydrates. Sugar is not bad for you. As long as you're utilizing the sugar for a purpose, you're not going to just store it away. So if you're using that, by the time you deplete your muscle glycogen while working out, then some of that sugar glycogen is going to be cycled through you and you're going to utilize it in the workout. That's going to fuel you to not burn out as quickly, depending how hard you're pushing your sets and weights.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of how that glycogen is going to carry over from just the food and your reserves.
So the glycogen can come through the sugar based off the fact that the sugar are carbs, obviously, and they're coming through that way, but it's faster delivery than say like
a complex carbohydrate.
Yeah, bread or something like that.
Starch. Yes.
Yeah.
And so you can utilize that. And then by the time your reserves are depleted and you're leaving the workout, you can have some form of sugar as well after, whether it's an apple, etc. And that's going to help replenish those glycogen storages that you've now depleted and utilized from the food you've already burned out into those reserves to be okay for the rest of the day. And then you don't really necessarily need sugar at all unless you're doing something else vigorous throughout the day. Then from there, you could do some more simple carbohydrates that are easy to digest in your stomach, some complex carbohydrates if you need to stay full so you're not a fat ass the rest of the day. Just depends on your digestive tract too and what you're sensitive to doing.
Now, are you guys both in like 6 to 8 meals a day mode right now, or how often do you eat?
I'm probably at like 3 meals and 7 snacks.
7 snacks? And you're like 8 muffins and like
fucking like 8 muffins at one time. Maybe like 4 times a day.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
dude! I gotta try one of these muffins and see how good they really are. Of course,
then
of course, I'm gonna be sitting there eating muffins for 4 hours, and be like, I don't understand why I'm getting fat. He said he eats all these muffins.
So it runs 15 miles a day.
Yeah.
a lot too, so it helps.
That's insane.
We can do 1, not 8.
Yeah, but so you're throughout the day, multiple meals. How do you plan your day? Because you also work during the day too. I mean, fortunately, Dejan gets to work in the gym, so it's a little bit easier to kind of walk around, watch everybody else work out while you're eating your midday snack. But for you, it might not be so easy.
Yeah, so I work out like a 4-on 4-off work schedule.
Okay.
A rotation, so it depends on the day of essentially the week for me. So days I work, it's usually like maybe 4 meals minimum. I do fast too. Like today, I haven't eaten at all.
Wow.
So I lifted for half hour. It was pretty quick. I'm not really trying to gain muscle, so I'm just trying to maintain.
Sure.
If anything, lose weight. So, and then did 2 miles on the treadmill and just did some sauna, but I haven't eaten anything today yet.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, do you have that problem? Is it hard for you not to overeat then when you do finally eat, or does your body just become accustomed kind of how you've set it in motion?
Definitely had binge eating problems. So that's like mentally, so there's something you got to work on yourself. And that requires, medication or psychologist. Everyone's different. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. No questions yet. I'm kind of surprised. We've only had about 12 to 15 people pop in here and not really ask any questions, but still informative for sure. So hopefully people are catching this on the aspect. If you are watching, please don't hesitate to drop a like, a comment. If you got a question for these guys while they're here, please don't hesitate to ask. So what's the future for you both look like? Like, what do you see yourself doing? What do you see yourself wanting to grow into? Do you guys have visions of kind of for yourselves individually?
I would love to be an athlete for certain brands that, I believe in.
Yeah.
Like I like their products and I believe in their products. So I work with Greg's company right now. So I'm affiliated with him.
Greg's company?
Greg Doucette.
Okay.
So I'm affiliated with him. A lot of his products I do believe in, and him itself, and it's definitely his cookbook.
Yeah.
Help me. And I know it could help a lot of other people that are on that, heavier weight scale can't just eat the chicken and rice.
Yeah.
Just jumping from that flavor to like everything tastes good to wow, I don't want to eat broccoli.
Right.
Just mentally, that's really hard.
Right on. So is there other companies that you put your name behind, or that and what about those particular companies that have kind of
Definitely Buff and Muffins because I love them. But besides them, Nick Bear, he got me into running.
okay?
So he owns BPM. I would love to be one of his athletes.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of like me, he's jacked, and he runs. He's definitely smaller than I am, but he's doing the same marathon I'm doing. So actually, he just got hit by a car.
No shit.
So
Oh, man.
so hopefully,
Hopefully he's still doing it.
My goal is to do this marathon and run next to him the entire time.
And just be like, dude,
You got
sign me.
Right.
Just carry a pen with an affiliate paper and just be like, just sign it.
Because I know he's gonna record the whole thing too. So it'd just be wild seeing just like the two most jacked men ever, just like near 200 pounds. Just
Running through. Yeah, that's insane, man.
He runs like 2 hours 30 minutes. And I think he's trying to PR it, so it might be faster.
And what have you done yours in?
3 hours. So I got some work to do.
Yeah, no kidding.
I think right now I probably could do a marathon in like 2 hours 50 minutes
Okay.
if I ran one today. So
And who knows what's going to take over once you're running next to him, right?
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like you're gonna be like, dude, if I drop out, he's never gonna.
endorphins will be kicking in.
And what about you, Dejan?
Right now, my plan is to make and push for nationals in the next 2 years.
Okay.
Just to see kind of how I stack as a bodybuilder in the world, especially
Now-
being a guy in the center stage.
Well, I was gonna ask you too, because I know you're obviously have a wife and kids. How old are you right now?
31 in a month.
Okay, so you're still young. What's the span of bodybuilding, or do you think you can see yourself even doing it like after the fact, like when they have with the men's classic?
Men's classic is mainly what I try to compete in.
Okay.
But I mean, I can see myself competing for a very, very long time. I love to do it. This last year was the first year I have not hit the stage, and mentally it kind of killed me. I mean, it was necessary. My wife needed the break. She wouldn't have handled me prepping with all the kids and
Sure.
what she was going through. So it was for the greater good. But it definitely felt like I kind of lost a piece of myself not having that disciplinary structure that I've been used to doing for 7 years.
Yeah, I
And
can.
whether I'm super competitive or not, because that can sometimes come down to A, your genetics, B, how hard you push drugs, and C, some of the convenience times you do have. Even if I don't make it to pro, I just love to try to better myself every year and see myself from each picture improving and changing. So it just gives me a reason to do something that I otherwise wouldn't do on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, absolutely. Leland, what either of you guys, Dejan, you too. What else do you guys think is important to bring up to people that are listening that don't either know that much about you, or wanting to get into fitness, or they're trying to push themselves to the next level? I mean, there's got to be there's a ton of knowledge in those brains. What are some other things that you guys would like to touch on tonight?
I would say the number one thing I want to try to voice to people to understand is you want to do what you enjoy. And whatever way that gets you to your goal, there's a way to find it with something that you love and enjoy. If you want to lose weight and you hate the stair stepper, then that's not the cardio for you. If you would rather do walking incline, then do walking incline. If you'd rather do rowing, do rowing. So you have to find something that you like. You have to train the way you like. If the most optimal way to work out is to do hypertrophy the way I did to you today, where you're dying from stretching and lifting 10 pounds, your ego's out the door a bit. I mean, it's great.
Completely out the door.
But it's, sometimes you want to grab some 80-pound dumbbells and do some side raises. And even if you're swinging a little bit, you feel good moving some weight like you're a jacked dude. So then if that raises your endorphins, your testosterone, and then you feel good, you enjoy this process a lot more. It doesn't have to be the most optimal set possible. As long as you know you're not going to put yourself in a compromised position to injure yourself, then do it. That's the biggest thing. Find something that you like. And even if you're doing a half rep on a bench press, sometimes you didn't hurt yourself and you put the right markers in it, and you just felt good that you picked up 400 pounds. Who's here to judge what you just did? You had a good time. You were in the gym. You're leaving there with a good attitude. You've already accomplished more than the actual workout would have, just mentally.
Sure.
Enjoy the process and be happy, I would say. Definitely for people. And then consistency. Just show up. Even if you don't feel like showing up. Once you get in the gym, you're just like, man, I don't want to be here. do one set, muscles get warmed, and then you're just kind of like, oh, it's not so bad now.
Yeah, I would say that we talked about it earlier for those that like they seem like it's so far away from what they want, or you go into a gym where it seems like just everybody is a different level than you. Just picking something up and moving it is an accomplishment in a sense, right? And then the next day it's picking up two things, or the next day it's walking on a treadmill, and then it's uphill, and then it's a faster speed. And it's just, I feel like once you're in the gym, if you can make it through, I don't know, I would say probably 7 days. If you can make it to 7 to 10 workouts consistent, especially to me, it's always important for me whenever I'm working out is like, especially if I haven't been working out for a while, I need to get back on track. Like it's like same time every day consistently in order to like get into that mode. And then all of a sudden like, oh, I didn't see that muscle there last week. And it's like, all right, I'm pumped for week 2. I'm pumped for week 3. And then this time I was starting to kind of, flatline as far as I just wasn't to get most out of my workouts. I know that I wasn't enjoying it, but then a new gym opened up and I started a new gym, and it's all of a sudden it's like, oh, reboot. Like I got a little excitement, and then, talking to some different people that are, doing different things. And I would have never thought that I'd be getting advice from bodybuilders just because of the fact that wasn't something that I ever had interest in doing. But, just working out with 3 different people over the last 2 weeks, and my muscles have felt like burnout that I haven't felt before. So don't hesitate to reach out to people and say, hey, any advice. I've never seen anybody bark at anybody in the gym like, get away from me. I'm sure there's somebody out there, but highly unlikely.
Far and few between,
Yeah.
I think a big thing that I did when I first started being a personal trainer and getting into fitness is I hired a lot of different coaches just for a day. If you message a coach and be like, hey, can you train me for a day just to work out, and you pay him 40, 50, 60 bucks, whatever it is, for one session. It's one session. It's not going to break your bank. The guy's not going to mind just throwing you through a good workout, and you'll learn a lot from how he does his style. You do that with 10 different trainers, and you just, you got personability. You get to meet somebody, and you may, they got a break from their day to train you. You've helped them build their career, and you had fun in a hell of a workout, and you've learned different methods of how you can do something and piece little things together that now you found something you enjoy to do.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you?
I was going to just follow up with that. So I took the hard route. I just wanted to learn everything myself because I was like, I don't need anybody else to help me because I was a tool bag back in the day. I would say if I had to redo it, I would definitely hire coaches because you're going to learn things from everybody. And like he said, whether it's you hire them for a day or you hire a coach and then you switch to another one, you're going to learn something from every person that you work with. So that would definitely be helpful for people.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, just working out today, it's a different workout than the one I had yesterday with my buddy Brandon, and then last Wednesday with Nick. And with Nick, we went through, the different types of sets, which today we hit just about all of them, right? From rep pause or rest pause to partial to there's another one too. I can't remember what it is, but it's like failure, where basically he's lifting the weight for me at the end. But there was a point in time when that was happening, today, and it's brutal. It sucks while you're going through it, but
as soon as you rack it, you feel great.
You feel amazing. Even if it's a 10% rep, like you're like, yep, complete failure. Like,
to this day, one of the greatest memories I have is I was on this orange pendulum style machine, which is kind of like it's a squat rack, but it's like locked in place and you just squat. And my coach had 8 plates on each side. And I did like 8 to 10 reps. And then we had a whole bodybuilding team around me. They took 2 plates off each side. Then there were 6 plates on each side. I did about 10 or 11 reps. Then he took 2 more off. And there was 2 plates on each side. I did 10 or 12 reps. Then he put 2 plates back on. I went back to 4. He's like, give me 3. I'm like, okay, I got 3. Then he put 2 more plates back on. So I was at 6. And at that point, barely moved my knees. I got maybe 2. And then he just told me, go down and I'll pick you up. And I went down and he picked me up for 8 more reps. Then he threw 2 more plates on. I was back to 8 plates on each side. I haven't.
He's all man, dude.
And I think I got maybe 2 or 3 with him picking me up. By the time I barely got on the 3rd one up, I have a video of it. I barely racked it. As soon as I racked these pins, my vision went black. You could just see my eyes roll, and I just blacked out on the floor for 20 seconds. And 10 seconds, all that was going through my head was, I'm gonna breathe, I'm gonna die. This is it. And then for the next 30 seconds to a minute, I was like, I hate you, Mike. You are the worst person alive. Why would you do this to another human being? And then once that hatred subsided, I was so appreciative. I'm like, man, the grass is green, the sky is blue. I'm alive. You know, I get to do this, and it's the nearest experience I probably had to death.
Yeah, right.
And that made me appreciate just leaving the gym or just anything I was doing after that.
Yeah,
It's
for sure.
an amazing feeling. So
No, there's definitely something about pushing that past that limit. And sometimes it's hard to do it yourself just because whether it's, you don't want to drop weight on yourself or whatever the case might be. But yeah, when you get somebody there that can help you along with it, and that's the benefits of having a coach or, and I'm one of those people that never liked to work out with other people. I was just headphones in. I just went and worked out. But then I would catch myself. My wife would catch me more than I would catch myself. She'd be like, "You just sat there for like 5 minutes." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's heavy weight." But now I look at it as like, "Fuck, I just sat there and wasted 5 minutes of my time. Like I got to knock this workout out in an hour and a half instead of 2 hours, or an hour instead of an hour and a half." And just today, I mean, we did 30 minutes and 30 minutes, and like, man, those were great workouts.
at the end of each 30 minutes, you were like fried.
Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to see how I feel tomorrow because I feel like arms are one of those muscles where the next day doesn't really hurt, like a leg workout does or whatever the case, or a chest workout. So I'm excited to see what that turns out to. But
I know you had fun benching that bamboo bar.
fuck that thing, dude. I got to send me the video on that because I was trying to describe that to somebody, and I was like, this thing weighs a pound. I don't know. I would have never guessed it. I thought this thing was so heavy. And yeah, that was murder.
Yeah, you picked up the bar. What the hell?
Yeah, like when you're like, it weighs like a pound. I was like, what is he talking about? Oh shit, it really does weigh a pound. And see, that's something too for for me, and everybody's different. But when you reach that complacency, it's good to try out a different gym too once in a while, even if it's a day pass or you said a trainer and you go to his gym or whatever the case, because that's something that I've never worked out with before. I hope I never have to again. No, I'm just kidding. But who would have thought that there's this huge bar that weighs next to nothing that with like bamboo ends on it that you could rack some, kettlebells to the end of and just wobble that thing up and down for 10 reps. And I was like, it definitely, I felt it more in every other aspect of my arm. By the time I was done with it, I was like, man, I'm really whooped now. Like my arms are done. And that's the benefit of getting to go to different places all the time. Favorite workouts. What are your guys' favorite workouts? What are the ones that like really get the most out of you? Whether it's body part, whether it's running, whether it's a specific actual workout itself.
Leg extensions.
Leg extensions.
They're so brutal, but I love them and hate them at the same time. I'm talking like I'm going up 3 sets to failure on each one, and the 4th set is like drop set, 3 drop sets minimum.
Okay.
I would say leg extensions is probably one of the top tier lactic acid building feeling movements that you
Brutal.
And you can just push so much past failure if you do
Yes.
that, and depending where your stretch is. Yeah, it's brutal.
I think it's a great workout for people that want to understand of you feel that burn and you just push through that burn. And that's where you're building your muscle because you're just exhausting yourself and you're just pushing through it. You're either going to push yourself to the point where you're doing partial reps and you just can't handle the burn anymore, so you quit, or you just can't lift the weight anymore. So you're hitting that failure point. But then take that concept because you can actually feel that most people feel that muscle group more than others, and take that into your other muscle groups.
Sure.
You'll notice massive gains.
But there's nothing like trying to walk after you do that. Like my buddies started off our leg days, both the last 2 Sundays with leg extensions, like 15, 12, 12 up, increasing weight, and then drop set for the next one. Actually, I think last week was a rep pause, which was like 12, hold for 3 seconds, 10, hold 3, 8, et cetera, et cetera. And then this week we did a drop set where it was like 15, 10, whatever. All I know is when I got off of that, I almost felt, I was like, I got to stay away from like sharp objects. Like I'm going to literally like just collapse. But you're right. It's the greatest feeling. And it is hard to get that feeling on anything else that I've noticed. Like despite how you work, like there's just something different about those leg extensions. They're not my favorite by any stretch, but I can see why when you really want to just hurt yourself, basically, like mentally check in.
I feel like most people have a good mind muscle connection to their quads, so that's why they notice it more. But if you can build that connection to your other muscle groups, you'll get that same feeling with your other muscle groups as well.
Interesting.
Your lifts experience will be so much greater. And it's going to take time to build that, contraction of like, okay, I'm thinking about contracting this muscle, and you're actually feeling the whole movement. You're not just like fully contracting and then just dropping the weight, and
Right.
just fully contracting like a powerlifter would.
Right.
Yeah. And there's so much science, like like a quad is implemented. There's 4 muscles to it. So when you really get that muscle mind connection well, you can start feeling which quad head you're actually hitting. You can point your toes inwards. You're going to feel those inner sweeps go out. You can point your toes outwards. You're going to feel the outer sweeps go out. You can point your toes up towards you. You're going to feel the middle squeeze through. Just by placement in your feet, and you start learning, and you can close your eyes and literally feel each individual spectrum of your leg move in different ways. You go in, you start feeling, go out, and you push a little more and feel again.
Yeah,
Don't be afraid to close your eyes. I close my eyes in a lot of my sets because I'm just focusing.
Yeah. You will feel better. Take one sense away, and then your other senses are sharpened.
No, that's not a bad idea. I mean, there's definitely times that you're like just checking in with yourself, basically.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know what my favorite would be. I really like, recently I've become the drag curls that I made you do today, where your bicep is behind you and you curl up. That stretch that I get in my bicep, I've never felt.
Yeah, that was definitely a tough one for sure.
But more than anything, I would say my favorite style of thing to do is like the set that I died on the squats, and like I did to you, the tricep push downs.
Yeah.
Where you go heavy, lighter, and then you go back up heavy hit. Just something about feeling that much weight come back on after that exhaustion is just an adrenaline rush.
Now, when you guys train, do you guys typically train by yourselves at this point, or
I usually have a lifting partner, or I train with Mike, or I have to, and the amount of clients I have, I try to fit someone in with me at all times. I'm almost 97% of the time never.
Gotcha.
Usually by myself, but if someone messages me and sets it up,
yeah,
I'll try to fit it in if I can. I got a kid too, and another one on the way. So
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I can get busy, so
yeah, absolutely. It's gonna get really busy for you. Yeah. 2 of them. Boys, girls.
1 boy coming, and then I have girls 4.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, that's a good time, man. How long have you and your wife been married?
Oh God, we've been together for like 12 years, so I couldn't even tell you how long. 17 we got married. How long is that now?
Dang. So
I'm terrible. I forgot her birthday. Well, I didn't forget it, but
7 years.
Her birthday passed, and I was just like, I was on night shift. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Why are you doing it? Sorry.
Well, here, let's take that into play, because wife, 3 kids, wife, 1 kid, 1 on the way. 4 kids. Jesus. How do you?
I didn't have to do much.
Yeah. How do your wives? Well, your wife saw you go through this transition.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
probably.
probably.
She married me when I was fat. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, she's probably like, man, like she got to like marry up in the middle of her marriage.
Yeah.
She got to upgrade. So how was she as far as supporting you through that? I'm assuming pretty good, because you guys are still together, obviously. And how has she taken it since then? And
I feel like she's been very supportive. I'm a massive introvert, so she never had to worry about me running off to do whatever.
Yeah.
Whether she has those fears or not, we have Teslas, so she can just track my location. So, very supportive, and I feel like for me, that's definitely helped a lot.
Sure.
Being supportive, let me do my thing when I can.
And is she into fitness at all? Does she try to work out, or I mean,
here and there?
Yeah.
I think this year she wants to do a half marathon, so I'm gonna kind of coach her through that.
Cool.
So,
actually gonna do it pregnant?
Well, she's due on the 30th.
Oh, okay.
So she can do some 30th.
December?
Yes.
Oh, so you're almost here, man.
Christmas.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's gonna be almost the New Year's baby.
I think she's aiming for it. She's gonna try to hold out.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I mean, people have been in labor for longer, right?
Yeah, you can let it out. You can claim it on your taxes, hopefully.
That's funny, because I'm usually the person like, oh, taxes. And she actually mentioned that. She's like, we need to have this kid this year so we can write off on our taxes.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Good thinking, right? What about you, Dejan? I mean, obviously, stuck through with all this. She's at home with 4 kids. You're gone all day at the gym.
Yeah, it's really tough. I mean, the first 2 kids, they're hers. Okay, so I'm the stepfather.
Okay.
And they're older, so it was more understanding. We both kind of met in fitness. We were both into fitness. She got fit. I helped train her up a bit.
Oh, cool.
Dieting and all that too. Once we had our first kid together, it was, it's definitely hard for a woman postpartum. And, you gain that weight, you lose it. You're trying to go through your transformation, and then even before she could lose it, and most of any of it, she got pregnant again. and then we just had our daughter. So her journey's definitely set back a lot, and she's had to watch me thrive and push through and bodybuild and just become fit. And she has to take almost like a back burner to take care of the kids. And I really admire that about her. I always remind her how much I appreciate it. And she's definitely the rock for all four of us, the kids and myself.
Yeah.
And the two cats and the dog and all that.
She makes the wheel, the bus go.
Yeah, she's definitely the star in the middle. But I can definitely tell, even whether she wants to or not, there are some resentments, which I can see happens probably really often because I'm out living my life trying to aspire these goals, dreams, a business, build up, and have to take that time away. And she has to she has a degree in dental. So she's an FDA, so she repairs and restores people's teeth. And she can't really pursue that because the kids are so young. It's hard to, you don't want anyone to raise your kids.
Sure.
So even sitters are kind of tough to do. She's going to try to go back to, what's it called? Part-time-ish.
Yeah.
Soon. But even then, that's just going to be hard. I know it's hard that she gets to watch me do all this and, make sacrifices for that kind of thing. And she's just trying to figure things out and can't have her own life technically.
Right.
But like I said, she's more than understanding in most regards, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's the tough part, for sure. I mean, when you're trying to accomplish something and you have like a vision in your mind of like, even my wife and I, when I'm talking about starting this podcast, I was, I think she thought it was just going to be another hobby. And then like, she's like kind of obsessed with it. Like you went from like just Sundays to like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're doing one on Christmas Day and stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, because when you're passionate about something, it's easy to do. And like, if you can see future, and obviously I'm sure with training, it's the same way. Like as you get more and more clients, you start getting better and better. Now you start spending time doing research on how you could be better and better.
100%.
You work with the co-owner of Center Stage, Mike is his name. So you're learning stuff from him, you're spending time with him. Then obviously you're putting yourself through it. Like that passion turns into an obsession.
Yes. And it's hard to turn off.
Yeah, of course
There's
it
no
is.
limit. You love doing it, so you want to know it all, contain it all.
Well, and you hope everybody finds something like that, right? So that
100%.
they devote themselves to it. And it doesn't by any means that you're leaving anybody behind. Hopefully they're joining you with you. And it sounds like both your wives have in that aspect. And my wife is definitely allowing me to push my limits as far as the time that I spend in the basement in a podcast studio. But that's awesome. So your wife's going to try to do a half marathon.
Mhm.
Your wife's going to start going back
Try not to snap me.
I mean, at least that's something that they're able to kind of venture on their own. I mean, those are different things. Do you help? I mean, you have somebody cooking all your meals, so they cooking all your wife's meals too.
No, she cooks for herself.
So
she still cooks for me, and I'll have meals that I'll track to make accommodating to my meal plan.
Right.
It's not strict prep, but like I eat a lot. So to make her cook all of that and the kids and watch them,
oh my gosh,
I don't want to expect that out of her.
Yeah,
take that stress away. And Brian's my second wife.
Yeah, for me and my wife, it kind of just worked out. We both found our niches of what we do, and then she does her things, I do my things. Like I cook everything unless I'm at work and she needs to eat. Then she's cooking that herself, and then I just clean because I actually like doing those things. So
hey, all the more power to you.
Mom duties, majority of the time.
Sure.
The kids, but besides when I'm not working out or at work, I'm always home.
Now, what do you do for work? You mentioned it earlier. You do 4 on, 4 off.
Yeah, we're at steel mill. So
okay,
yeah.
The Cleveland.
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding. I wonder if you know Ray McGraw. I was here the other day.
There's a lot of people down there.
I know, there's so many.
If he's not in my department, I wouldn't know.
My wife actually. I remember at one point, my buddy John worked down there. He's part of the union, and he's like, you could be a union floor sweeper up here, make $20 an hour at the steel mill or whatever, sweeping floors or something. I was like, no, no, that's not happening.
Yeah, I mean, before I became a personal trainer, I was a mortgage banker, and I made a lot of money fast because it's you make a percentage off of your sales. If you got a $500,000 house, you make 1%. I just made $5,000.
Right.
And then you do one sale a week, you just made $20,000. You do 2 sales a week, you made $40,000. But I hated my life. I hated it. It was awful. Sitting on the phone, doing 500 phone calls a day, hoping to answer someone, ask them the questionnaire, get their socials, run their stuff. You know, if they have terrible credit, next person, do it again. And I got to say, no matter, money cannot buy, I mean, it can buy a degree of happiness to your comfortability, but money can't buy happiness, because at that point, even if I have a lot of money, I'm so miserable as a human being. You don't even want to be around me.
Sure.
And maybe doing something that I love and making good enough money to be within my means, I'm so much happier. I'm always willing to help out around the house, be a good person. And that alone is worth way more than any money can buy you.
Well, and that's the thing too. I mean, money does allow you to do the things that you love. I love to travel, allows me to do that, allows me to whatever, be at the gym twice today, you know, things like that. But you also have to be passionate about what you're doing. I mean, some people love the job that they do every day. I'm fortunate enough that I enjoy working with car dealerships, and I don't have a problem being in them every day. And I get to still do that. And fortunately, my job now, instead of running dealerships where I'm at the store till 8, 9 o'clock at night and there at 7 a.m. in the morning, I get to work from home most of the time. So I still get to do that, but I do find there's other things. If there's a way to make money doing something you enjoy more, it's definitely a life extender for sure. And hopefully more people will start extending their life through fitness. You know, we talked about a lot of stuff tonight. We talked about diet. We talked a little bit about some of the science behind working out and things like that. Before I cut this off, is there anything else that, you know, you guys have in mind that you want to make sure we bring up?
I do recommend everyone get close to death at least one time. If you want to hire me for one day and I will give you the hardest workout of your life, you will not regret it. Or whoever your local coach is, find someone you know works hard and be like, I want you to put me through the hardest workout ever. If you're new to working out, that's not going to be hard to do. So be a little bit experienced, but be open-minded, especially a lot of the gym guys who are like, oh, like Leland said in the beginning, I know everything. I don't need anybody. Don't be that guy. Just show up, give it a chance one time. You will walk away and be like, whoa, I did not know that could do that. I didn't know that was a muscle.
Yeah, right.
You know, that all those things. So that's an advice I'd like to give out there for someone, whether it is with me, with Leland, or whoever in-person coach. If you want to just do a friendly workout, Leland, he won't even charge you. Buy a day pass and work out for the day. He might be willing to.
Maybe work out with you.
Yeah, maybe take a first slight jog.
You're gonna stop
7 miles later.
Do you want to run me anytime? I'll run alongside with you. We're gonna be going so slow, you gotta go backwards.
I will run your pace. So if you do want to run, but if you want to lift with me, I'll lift with you. But I work out like an animal.
Yeah.
I will take every set of failure. So do expect that.
Yeah.
If someone did, but
maybe 0 RIRs.
I would say if you're not new, people need to go harder. There's not enough people that train hard enough, and that's why you're not getting results. You want to go to death, like he was saying. Push yourself, and the more you push yourself and the harder things you do, there is a part of your hypothalamus that actually grows. So you do hard things, and the ability to do even harder things gets easier. You actually want to do them.
100%. I'm at the gym 12, 14 hours a day straight. And there's people I see there every single day. And I work out at a very hardcore gym, as you saw.
Yeah.
It's not a lily gym. There's a lot of guys, I see them and I'm like, I have seen you do so many sets for so many weeks. And you can combine all those workouts you just did, and you would have grown the same in those 6 weeks in one if you would have pushed to failure closer and trained that much harder. And you had 6 times, now you just grew in 6 weeks, but you did 36 weeks. And you would have saved yourself so much time. I would rather you go to the gym 2 times super hard than 6 times and just show up and, do that. Once you get to that level of effort, build some muscle in your body, that effort level will carry you so much further than just showing up, and you can optimize that time.
Yeah.
So,
if you're trying to become the best, hire a coach to push you through those moments. Plus the diet helps too.
Yeah. No, I'd agree. If you're really trying to push yourself, and not only that, but if you're just become complacent, like if you're sitting in the gym tomorrow morning and you're like, man, I've been doing the exact same thing every Monday or every Tuesday for the last 6 months. I mean, there's just a point in time where your body's so used to it. Like, even if you change it up a little bit, you're not going to see that difference. But go work out with a buddy, go find somebody in your gym that you see there every single day at the same time. And if you see them getting results, just, hey, let me hop in with you, dude. Like, I'll be, I could be on the side. You hear my dogs. Everybody's probably like, oh.
Yeah, the human body is very resilient, and you'd be surprised what it can do. But you really have to push it for it to adapt and like grow.
Yeah, and you learn your body more when you do these things, right? Like, oh, well, this made me really sore, so maybe I should do that a little bit more often. Or this diet, like this food, I wasn't bloated at all this week for the first time, or whatever the case might be. You start learning what foods do better for you, et cetera, et cetera. And those all add to the results.
Yeah, you know, actually, one thing I do want to add to the lesson today that we talked about, because we talked a lot about diet.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about working out and how important this both are, of course. BMR, we spoke about that last podcast, which is your basal metabolic rate. So it's the rate you burn calories throughout the day just existing. And obviously that changes depending on your activity level and what you do. So Leland Property's BMR is really, really, really high.
Yeah, definitely.
But kind of like to our stories where we underate so much to lose weight, that only works for so long because your body enters a starvation mode and that BMR goes down. So I really applaud people, do not undereat. You need to be eating enough and close in that range so your metabolism does not shut down on you and allows you to do these things, to lose weight, to grow. But not only that, build muscle. Even if you're a small female, it's 100 pounds. I mean, the more muscle you build, the higher your BMR is, the more now you can eat like an asshole and not get fat because you have that muscle mass. And that's what people are like, oh man, I hate your metabolism. It's so fast. You can eat 40 muffins in 1 week and not get fat. Yeah, but I built that muscle to make those muffins in response to not get fat.
Yeah.
Well, you touched on something, and I know I said we're going to end this, but I do have one question because my wife will tell me all the time. She's like, I don't want my muscles to get big. I don't want to be bulky, and she thinks that it's like slender frame versus like bodybuilder, like, and so she's like tailored her workout certain ways to try and, just stay lean. She calls it the European fit, right? But for a woman who wants to build muscle but not build bulk, what do you kind of focus on for that individual? Diet's obviously a portion of it, but
Do you want to take that?
Even if you do the same thing I do every day, you're probably not going to get huge. So for women that think they're just going to get massively bulky, it's probably not going to happen unless you're literally there twice a day, every day, just trying to crush your soul. I wouldn't stress it.
Yeah.
Just do your thing. Depends your age too. Everyone's got a genetic potential, so you're not going to become Dorian Yates.
Yeah.
Just, going to the gym. So your muscles can only get so big genetically.
The worst is when people are like, I don't want to get big like you. You know how hard and what you can train just to get here, and I'm not even anything.
Right.
It takes a lot, and especially so when it comes down to like a female's body, they obviously have a fraction of the testosterone we have.
Sure.
Normal female testosterone is like 10 to 50, where men are 300 to 1,000. So that alone is already going to synthesize how much muscle you can build in that parameter to a lot of other things. So for your wife to get to the same build as you do, it's much different. Like you see those memes, like I did this, that, and I've lost 2 pounds. My husband cut out soda and he lost 10.
Yeah, right.
Because we have so much muscle mass that when we just make that small change and alteration, we're not under eating, we can shed that weight a lot more. And obviously we're bigger people. So if a 250-pound male loses 10 pounds, that's a much smaller percentage than a 110-pound female.
Right.
So for her to really get bulky and massive, mass moves mass. If she's 130 pounds, she's not going to be lifting 400 pounds.
Right.
So that alone already, she can't move that much. So whether she's lifting heavy weights for lower reps to build tone, lean muscles in your body, or vice versa, they can both happen. And if you, like we talked about, power lifters, they lift for 2.5, 3 hours at a time, and they can move some weight. I mean, I've seen some small guys deadlift 800 pounds, and I'm like, I can't do that.
Right.
And I'm 3 times the size of them. They're not big and bulky, but they can still be strong and lift a lot because their muscles are optimal for that movement and the hinge, and with how they've trained, built those twitching muscles in their body. So size doesn't really correlate to strength all the time.
Sure.
And of course, if you have size, you're going to have strength with it, but you're just not going to optimize your strength. So
Right.
Just because you're training one way, you're not going to get huge and massive unless you're trying to do everything to be so.
Fair enough.
There's for females that do care. I think muscle mass, especially later in life, definitely matter for longevity. But there's a doctor called Gabrielle Liana.
Mm-hmm.
She's a doctor. She works out, crushes her soul, and she's not jacked. So she does give good information too, especially on like women's health. So if a woman is listening, I would give her a follow.
Yeah. What was the doctor's name?
Gabrielle Lyon or Leon.
Hopefully I am spelling that right.
She actually got her PhD under the guy that found out about protein synthesis.
Really?
So she was under him.
Huh.
Her and Lane Norton, if you know who he is.
I don't know who he is.
You know who Lane Norton is?
I do not. Actually, it's funny you mentioned protein synthesis. I don't know the information to give you guys, but I recently saw a study because I'm pro bodybuilder slightly, and I've always eaten my meals in parameters of 50 to 65 grams of protein per 2.5 hour time window. But they speculate now that within a 2.5 hour to 3 hour frame, they don't know how much protein you can actually synthesize. And obviously, it's different depending on genetics, but a lot of people are upwards of higher than 100 grams of protein within a time frame at a time. And
That they can actually utilize?
Yeah. So when I saw that, I'm like, man, that would change my life. So I'm trying to do more studying into that because it's still not found, but just to know more, because it would really, I eat 400 grams of protein a day. So if I could cut that down to 4 to 5 meals sometimes, that'd be pretty huge. But then I'm eating, 12 ounces of chicken or fish. But I've never done that. I was trying to keep my portions at 7, 8 ounces because I can only optimize X amount.
Yeah, that's interesting.
If you ever dive into all that science and nerdy stuff, I spend like 12 hours a day just listening and researching stuff.
There's so much information.
I'll dive into like actual studies too.
That's awesome. I know we eventually want to have one into like PEDs and stuff like that.
Yes,
So
peptides and PEDs.
yeah, I think that'd be a great. Yeah, absolutely. Come the new year, we have a whole bunch of ideas that we want to bring to the table and bring to the forefront. And it's funny. Somebody said, "Are you going to just only do fitness podcasts from here on out?" I was like, "No, absolutely not." I was like, "But I mean, I'm interested in it." So yeah. Right now, I like hearing about it. So as long as people are willing to come on the show and want to share it, hell, why not?
Yeah, me myself, I'm not a natural athlete. Leland is way more natural than I am in those aspects. But yeah, so I've definitely dabbled in quite a bit of the darker side.
I'm like a half natty. I take TRT, but it's not like the
dose.
bro dose. I take 140 milligrams. I've been on that
and he's prescribed. So.
3 years.
You've been on that for 3 years. So you got your wife pregnant on TRT?
I had to take HCG.
Let
me tell you, if you're gonna go down the road,
my wife and I have this conversation all the time because the last time I got my testosterone tested, I want to say it was 2 years ago, I think, and I was under 300. And so of course they recommend TRT, but then obviously not supposed to be able to get pregnant or get somebody pregnant when you're on TRT.
I was taking TRT and HCG at the same time. She got pregnant.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and you could do Clomid and HCG to raise those natural levels, but I would also just do a sperm analysis test.
Yeah.
Like my first kid, I did the protocol, which is like you do Clomid, you do Nova, HCG, get off everything.
Yeah.
And my wife was pregnant within 1 week. I even went to the doctor and I got tested, and I had 140,000 active sperm out of 42 billion was supposed to be it. So I'm like, oh, so he's like, yes, your chances of getting pregnant is like 0.0001. I'm like,
oh wow, really?
Damn. But it only takes one, right? I got 140,000 sperm.
Yeah, right.
So
Seminal battle.
It worked. And we had our kid. We only wanted one. And then we recently had our daughter, and that was a complete mistake. And I was running HGH test, DECA, and Anadrol.
So your son's gonna come out with a 6-pack, like bench pressing 225.
Oh, well, that was my daughter.
Oh, that was your daughter when this happened?
And my daughter was born small. My son was born average medium, and now he's freaking 19 months old, and he's 35 pounds, taller than anybody, in the 98th percentile range, and he has abs. And I'm like, I didn't fucking have that. That's a fat kid.
Yeah, right. That's
like,
awesome.
Where did this kid come from? He looks like a Viking. I'm kind of worried. So, I don't know what was in the swimmers, but
that's your education on diet.
Yeah,
lifestyle.
I mean, I am putting some creatine in the formula.
For people that are going to go the TRT route, if the longer you're on it and you're not taking HCG, the less likely your chances of being able to ever produce active sperm with HCG. And then if you're going through the doctor for HCG, expect to spend $1,300 a month.
Holy shit! Are you serious?
Yeah, it took us 1.5 years to like finally have a kid that.
You can buy HCG through my link for $50.
Yeah, I would go that route if you don't have the funds, because you'll blow up your $40,000 pretty quick.
Wow, and so that's what the doctors prescribed for you when you were trying to have a kid.
Yeah,
HCG is the best thing.
Yeah, you're not gonna have a kid if you're on anything.
Yeah, right.
Unless luck is on my side.
Yeah, very lucky.
Yeah.
I had 0 sperm when I started it.
Wow.
So 100,000 better than zero.
Yeah, we're not saying that you can't get your girl pregnant if you're on stuff. It's not a birth control. We're also saying that you can't not get them pregnant if you get off of it to do this. So there's too many different scenarios. Like everyone's different, but in both scenarios, things can still happen. So, but yeah, if anybody who's looking for any peptides or PCTs, etc., I'm actually sponsored by a brand online, and it's
Yep.
on my IG. It's Swiss Chem Labs, and they can use my name and they get 10% off everything. They sell BPC 157, GWD 156.
Swiss, easy. Chem, CHEM, LABS
Yes,
.com.
yes,
.com.
and that they're so cheap. I mean, you get BPC for $35.
While we're on the topic of peptides, peptides are just a chain of amino acids. So insulin's a peptide.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, semaglutide's a peptide.
Sure.
If you're trying to lose weight,
That's Ozempic for those.
go. There's nothing wrong with going that route. The only negative side effect is going to be gut distress. So if you can't handle the gut distress, try Manjaro. It's the next step up. And then there's Retruitride, which hits 3 different pathways. That's going to be a game changer for everybody. That'll actually help increase your metabolic rate just injecting it. So it affects the glucagon pathway as well.
I just actually listened to a big thing on peptides the other day, and that's where I came up with that information where they're saying, like, you know, the FDA is trying to limit them, and then they're going to try to let big pharma control them. But one of them being Ozempic, right? And how much more expensive it is versus how much it was before.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy
because of that. But well, not just the fact that it's cost so much, but also that the downside of it isn't because of it being a dangerous drug. It's because of the overdose essentially that people are prescribing themselves with. When you hear like Ozempic butt and stuff like that, like they're losing too much because they're doing too much of they're like overdosing themselves. Basically, they're higher doses than they needed to have. So it's interesting when you say, you know, hey, there's nothing wrong with that route, because there's not. There's a lot of, you know, a lot of negative information out there about it right now. Yeah. But there's things that you can do on top of that, like, hey, if you're taking it, but you're eating healthy protein-based meals,
most
and you're
people
still working out.
They're not working out. They think it's a magic solve all, and they're like, "This is it," and they're done. And then they don't eat anything at all. They still eat just one meal a day. It's pizza.
Right.
You can't do it that way.
Yeah. The studies on where people saying if you take Ozempic or the GLPs, you're going to lose muscle. It's people are losing muscle because they're not eating protein and they're not working out. You will lose the same amount of muscle regardless of the drug, just dieting, if you are not weight training and eating enough protein.
Yeah. People with the negative side effects, they're probably still, if you were to just take out that drug and they did that without the drug or with it, it's still the same.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And that's kind of what they were talking about in this conversation was, you know, it's just like any other drug or any other pill that's out there. Like, it's not necessarily the actual pill or the actual drug that's the issue. It's the way that it's prescribed or the way that it's abused and used in the community, and the things that you're not doing to also assist it, right? Yes. Like you guys just talked about. It's great to lose a little bit of weight, but I mean, the idea of that pill, that prescription that one doctor was saying is like, hey, go out there and lose your 30 or 40 pounds so that now you can go to the gym and walk on a treadmill every day.
Yeah.
You know, and then after that 20, 30 more pounds, like now you can go lift some weights and go outside and do these, like, just to gradually grow is the idea. Unfortunately, you know, it's not that way that the medical care system always works. But hopefully, you know, some of these other peptides and stuff like that, I'm really interested in learning a little bit more about those. So if you've got a lot of information on that, we'll definitely have to have you on back on. I actually had somebody reach out recently from around here.
There's some really good ones like MK677s revolutionizing right now. Cardarine I'm using, it's amazing. And then 5-amino-1-MQ I'm using, that's been amazing with no negative downfalls.
Just a guinea pig over there, huh? See,
I do my research, but yeah, and I do things that are within safe practice. I got 4 kids after all.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not out here doing trend.
If you're going to take MK, you're going to eat a lot of food.
Yes.
It affects your ghrelin pathway to increase your growth hormone.
Really?
So when you feel hungry, growth hormone actually goes up. So that's how the MK is actually.
Yeah, MK I've never taken. There's been a lot of research on it.
Yeah.
But the other 2 I have.
Interesting.
And Cardarine, the only downfall would be they overdosed rats with it and they got cancer. So great assault on that one, I guess.
Yeah.
But there's probably been athletes that have been taking it for 15, 20 years. And
my cholesterol has been so amazing. The best it's ever been. And my resting heart rate's the lowest it's ever been since I started taking it.
The Cardarine is great for it. I mean, we're just getting the peptides at this point, but
yeah, I mean,
it increases your ability to use fat as a fuel source. So that's essentially what it's doing. It's improving your cardio.
Teaser for our next show.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to hear more about it, make sure you comment, like, subscribe. Make sure you share this. Follow Dejan at All Might Dejan on
I'm
Instagram.
not a copy reference to an anime, so just so that.
And then Leland, what's your Instagram?
Just the Land Fitness or Leland Massaro on Instagram.
Awesome.
Got a YouTube channel. I haven't posted anything, and then TikTok, obviously.
Oh, we'll see. If you had a YouTube channel, we could have streamed this right to your YouTube. My goodness, what are we gonna do? Hey, but appreciate you guys coming in and joining us tonight. Had a good time getting to know you a little bit, Leland, and look forward to definitely doing this again, and we'll go from there.
Yes. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.